Hello and welcome back to Old World Wednesday. Today we have got loads of rumours to talk about. There is a picture of the Cathay box that's been released into the wild. There's a rumour for when the NDA is up to and when it will be released. Games Workshop have just sent out a dodgy link to match play rules, and there are rumours about a sort of maybe new edition 1.5, and then we'll be speculating about what is coming in the next Arcane Journal. It is going to be packed. So, everybody, it is tankard time. Welcome to Old World Wednesday. The top of this tankard, I'm telling you, is worse than those new cola bottles where you get the lid up your nose. Look, it's like it's in my eye.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not drinking from a lidded tankard.
Anyway,
I'm not one of the. No.
Look, tankard is for Tankard Tuesdays. This is Old World Wednesdays.
What they called the stonecutters from The Simpsons, aren't they? When they do the tankard song. We do. That's what you need.
Okay, Tom. What do you think of this picture?
Well, the exciting thing is, Dan, we've seen that picture before. Well, in from the Warhammer community, but the really exciting thing is, if that picture's out in the wild, it's coming soon, right? And
Yeah.
I know we're going to talk about the NDA, but that's really exciting to know it's out there. People have got it. People have got it. Someone's got the rules somewhere, and I want to see them.
Someone with jazzy socks has got it. We know that much.
Oh, jealous! Jealous. Where's
So
our
that's
copy?
very cool. I think this is probably. My understanding is that the lead times are normally quite close to pre-order, but when it's something big or something brand new, they can do an extended lead time to help people get time to paint it and things like that. And because we've seen this picture, and then we know we've still got the Wood Elves have just been shipped out, the Beastmen are up for pre-order, they're next. We know that it's not coming out at the same time as the pre-order because we haven't seen the pre-order. So this is to give people time to get it ready so that when it drops, it's really successful. So they're obviously putting a lot of trust and giving people enough time to get to grips with it so that they can discuss it and review it all really thoroughly. So the rumor is that the NDA lasts up until the 21st of June. So at time of recording, it's the 2nd. So there's still quite a way to go before people can openly speak about it. And then that will be for a 5th of July release.
Good old 2-week pre-order. Oh, that's exciting. Cannot wait to see what the hobby ninjas get done with these kits because they are beautiful.
Yeah, they are really cool. So yeah, looking forward to that. It's nice to have a release date. That it is in the wild, that pretty much confirms it. And that is exciting because it's been back to back Old World, hasn't it? There's been loads going on.
It's been relentless. It's been absolutely relentless. And do you know, so one thing I really wanted to talk about on the channel for a couple of videos now, Dan, is I was in GW Bristol a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the Old World and its like perceived success that it's having. And I was like, but it's just a shame. I want to be able to come in and I want to be able to come buy my box of soldiers I know are reliably on the shop floor and walk out and be excited about something. And one of the peoples in the Games Workshop were like, well, we may have seen the store plans for when Cathay release and some Old Worlds coming back into the stores.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
That's really good. Because I always go in, I go to my local and I buy my paints. And they go, what are you working on? It's like, nothing that's in here, mate. Out I go.
Like, you take the chance. Every time I see a Games Workshop, I'm going to take a punt. I'm going to go in, see if I can find a box. And if there's a box, I might buy it. And now, I know I'm going to be getting stuff. Really excited.
Cool. Yeah, because you're definitely not going to buy it if it's not there. So that's cool. So Cathay, way sooner than I expected. Like when they announced that Cathay were coming and we started hearing they were coming, I was like, well, we'll have to get these, the Wood Elves and the Beastmen out the way. That'll be a summer release. They'll probably want to stagger it throughout the year because we don't know what else is coming. So I was thinking we were looking at autumn, winter kind of time.
Is it not
So
General's Handbook release time as well?
Hmm.
So I was really surprised they'll release it in that same window. You know, AOS being the juggernaut that it is and trying to compete with Warhammer Fantasy. But, you know, that's really surprising.
So the next rumor that we want to talk about is one that has just come out actually within in the last 15 minutes, which is really funny. We were going to talk about this a little bit because there have been rumors that there's going to be like a match play pack. So you were talking about the General's Handbook. I don't think it's going to be anything as extensive as that, but lots of guys, lots of different podcasts, the community have been talking about comp. And from day one, the conversation was about dragons and things like that. And then the Throne of Skulls event happened at Warhammer World, which is a tournament run by Games Workshop. And they introduced their own kind of comp where they had only 25% can be spent on one character. So then these Dragon Lords, 500 points is your max for a character. You can't have any more. And then, that kind of started to fuel these rumors that Games Workshop are looking at how to comp their own thing. And then I received this very email here that
this calamity of an email you've got.
Yeah, dear Daniel, we've netted some awesome Warhammer news for you this week. Blah blah blah. Plus, discover updates for Warhammer the Old World. And then you scroll down, and there's a link to an article. Warhammer the Old World Matched Play Guide revealed. And you click on it, and it says, sorry, that page does not exist.
Oh, that's a shame. I'd love to be talking about those rumors now, Dan.
So, well, we know from Throne of Skulls that it's... Let me get the Throne of Skulls pack. So it says here... You may not spend more than 25% of your army's total value on a single character. Your army may include any number of level 1 and 2 wizards within the above restrictions, but may include 0 to 1 level 3 wizards per 1,000 points and 0 to 1 level 4 wizards per 2,000 points. And note, these limitations do not apply to named characters.
Wow, that sounds like a really, really quick fix to the Hero Hammer issue going on with dragons. But I think that's quite an interesting way if they comp that with what we've heard about 1.5 and what they're proposing to change about spellcasters.
Yeah, so the idea seems to be that they get all the armies out plus Cathay. Then once that's out, then we get the matched play and the rumored 1.5 edition update. And that cements everything. Everything is out, and it is all now consistent under one rule set that has had a bit of a shake around to try and help the meta and help some failing units and things that are too strong and stuff like that. And the rumor for that is out in the same month as Cathay. So Cathay will be out for general release beginning of July. This will drop somewhere middle towards the end of July, within a couple of weeks of that. What it looks like, I don't know yet. Whether it's going to be a PDF, whether it's going to be a book, we'll have to wait and see.
They're usually pretty good on their PDFs, aren't they, Dan, to be fair, at the minute? They're pretty good on their digital downloads.
I like a good living document that can be updated and is easy to get hold of. We have had it many times before, haven't we? Where Games Workshop release a book and then do an FAQ straight away. Sometimes even before the book is out, they've FAQ'd it, and then the book is then completely redundant. So I think if they're going to do it, if they're going to do a book, if they're going to do something you can buy, if it's going to be a little pamphlet or something, then they need to make sure that that's what they're going to stick with. If they're not, then it should be a PDF. So these rules for competitive play are going to go hand in hand with what we have heard that is going to be rumored as the Old World 1.5 edition, not the second edition, but a kind of tightening of the rules and a rebalancing of the game. So these have been leaked by Jav Goro, who is the moderator on the Warhammer the Old World Discord, and he leaked a little bit about the Wood Elf book. So far, everything he has said has come true. He also talked about how the Beastmen were going to be delayed and the Wood Elves are going to come out first and things like that. So he seems to be really reliable, to be honest. And he said that he's known about this for a little while. He hasn't said anything because he knows that it's gotten some people into trouble. But now Warhammer World employees are openly talking about it, so he feels it's okay that he can begin to chime in. And the first thing he says that it will be released probably July, like we said. It's not a new edition. And what it's going to do is it's going to upset the meta and rebalance the game. So he says, what can you expect? I don't want to go into heavy detail, but in general terms, if you feel something is too good and there's a chance it's been changed or it's had its points cost adjusted, they won't be sweeping changes, but they will be targeted. So things like, things that we will see all the time, Pillar of Fire, for example, perhaps the Rig of Ruin, things like this that pop up in every army list.
Is Rig of Ruin good enough to nerf? But I don't know. Maybe your huge dragon.
Really. I think Pillar of Fire might be. There's been a lot. That's a really popular spell, isn't it? And it works different from other vortexes or vortices. So we'll have to see. But he has gone into some detail. So buffs to infantry that make them better in terms of combat and combat resolution, especially in larger blocks. It's not clear if monstrous infantry is included in this, but gut feeling says so. Secondly, adjustment to the magic system to reduce the disparity between hero and lord level casters. Nerfs and adjustments to vortices. Adjustments to reduce the dominance of mounted lords. Possibly adjustments to skirmishers and linehammer. So that's all we know so far. Off stream, Tom, you were chatting a bit about changes that we've already started to see happen. There's a rule in the Wood Elf book, isn't there, for bringing back the parry rule for infantry.
Yeah, which is a really cool rule. I remember it from 8th, is any model with a shield could parry it. Had like a 6-up ward save to the front in close combat, was it not?
In this, it's +1 to your armor save if you have a hand weapon and shield. But in this new unit of Eternal Guard, it also extends to their spears. So they can be. Wood Elves are always in light armor, aren't they? So it's as if they can be light armor shield, but then +1. So they end up being in kind of full plate kind of situation.
That's fairly robust. I really like something they're doing, and it seems like the rules writers have a finger on the pulse as what's going on in the meta, because a lot of the new books you see coming out have kind of an answer, not an answer, but a solution to that line hammer problem. So I think in one of the books there's almost like an anti-line hammer item you can take. The flyers, every book now has its Falcon Horn in some iteration.
A lot,
and I hope to see that. Yeah, I'd like to see that kind of echo brought into this new set of rules. But
yeah, that would be cool. So yeah, you're right. I think where you say, there's an anti-line hammer spell in the Wood Elf Journal, which I've just got sat here. It's just arrived today, actually. There's lots of cool stuff in there, and you're right. It feels like they are responding. So buffs to infantry in terms of combat resolution is interesting. So especially in large units. So does that mean we will see, because ranks are limited, you can only get +2 for your rank bonus. So will we see that go up a bit more, perhaps?
Is the problem that infantry isn't winning combat through its ability, like the lack of combat resolution, or is it just doesn't ever get to fight?
I think it's both, isn't it? I think Swift Stride is really powerful, and actually, when you look at some things coming out later on, quite a lot of things now that what you would have expected to have Swift Stride now don't have Swift Stride. Not everything does. So it used to be if you're moving 7, 8, 9, you get Swift Stride, whatever you are. And now that isn't always the case, which is quite interesting to see. I think it started with the Lion Chariot, because I was really surprised that the Lion Chariot didn't have Swift Stride. I don't think Orion has Swift Stride in the book, even though he's like as quick as his hounds. He's very.
Are there any other precedents for heavy chariots having Swift Stride? Because the White Lion chariot is a heavy one, isn't it?
I don't know off the top of my head, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
Someone in the comments will know.
Someone will know.
So, where were we? Adjustments to the magic system to reduce the disparity between hero and lord level characters. I've heard this talked about a bit before. Just little murmurings that the disparity between +2 to cast and +4 to cast is too much, and it and level 4 casters are just so much better. Everybody just takes a level 4, and there's no real space for a level 2 caster in the game at the moment, unless you're well out of range, I suppose.
Yeah, the dispel range changes, but a lot of the spells, with a 9+ to cast, you're almost 50% of the time getting it off. It's just not enough. It's really not enough for a level 2.
Yeah, so your level 2 will struggle to cast Demonology, but they can cast Battle Magic quite easily, I suppose. Things like that. So what I've heard is that it's going to be something along the lines of you might not have a difference in your to cast roll. You'll just have more access to spells if you're a level 4.
So it very similar to how psychic powers used to work in Warhammer 40,000. You just roll 2 dice and it was a leadership check. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one, but that's what I've heard. So nerfs for adjustments to vortices. I think Pillar of Fire will become random. What was the next one? Oh, adjustments to reduce the dominance of mounted lords. So we've already talked about the 500 point limit, or the 25% limit. I don't think they'll go back to dual profile, because it would mess up all the books.
Would it?
Because the mounts are like +3 toughness or something like that, aren't they? And you become a combined profile. I think if they're going to go back to dual profile, that would be an addition change rather than an update.
Maybe, but then could they release it at 1.5 in a book? And because all of your mount profiles are split in the rule books, aren't they? So you could just do an amendment in an FAQ to say change toughness from +3 to read as 4 or 5 or what have you. I don't know.
I think they'll do it through points personally, and then they've already in an FAQ had a look at the kind of items that you can bring. So there was an item, is it the glittering helm? Is it called? It's something like that. It's the shiny helmet, something like that.
Bedazzling helm.
That's the one. Yeah, the shiny helmet. You can't take the bedazzling helm if you are a monster anymore. You can only take it if you're cavalry. So they might look further at things like that.
That's quite cool. I was just there thinking to myself, will my Duke get away with it? But Duke's lethal.
Of course he will.
There's no chance will they let him get away with that. He's going to get nerfed to oblivion. You've had your year with him. You've had your fun.
So this is the thing, actually, is the next one. So the reason why the Duke is so good and the Pegasus Knights are so good is because of the skirmish rule. And skirmish and fly and being hard hitting is just leaves people no escape on the table. So there are talks that they might change how skirmish works. And then we were digging through the 8th edition book, weren't we, and chatting about how skirmish used to work in 8th edition.
Yeah. At the minute, in its current iteration, it's way too strong. Very powerful special rule. 360 line of sight. You can almost no-brain. I know there's some builds that have Pegasus Knights starting halfway down the board, very close to a deployment phase. You could very easily outmaneuver your opponent. I think it's too powerful. I don't want to see it change as a Bretonian player, but if it did, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, so I think my understanding is that the guys that are writing the rules and that are behind the scenes in the studio are real kind of old Hammer players, and this is how Skirmish was, and then it evolved in 8th edition. So, you know, to try and rein it in a little bit, and I think, well, it's probably proven that that was a good idea. So how they used to work, for anybody who doesn't know, is that they still had ranks, but they were loose ranks. So the models were half an inch away from each other. But as you moved, you could reform as many times as you liked. So you could, you know, you could just keep turning and snaking around and squeezing through little places and things like that. So long as no model had moved double its move, and you could do that. So when they finished their move, they could be facing any direction that they wanted via a free reform. That would be quite an elegant solution, because what it would do is you could still have your Pegasus Knights barreling down the flank and then turning to face into what they wanted. But you could then respond. At least there would be an arc that you could try and escape from, and it wouldn't be everything 360. Even if it was just forward arc, you know, anything kind of 180 degrees would be better, wouldn't it? You know.
Yeah, it would, and it would require a little bit of thought of how you positioned.
So I think that might be useful, because at the moment, playing Tom, it feels like there is absolutely no escape. It doesn't matter what you do, something will be able, you know, they'll be able to find something and catch something. So I think that would help. They'd still be a brilliant unit. They absolutely would still be a brilliant unit. And I personally think that rule change would help, but it would be quite a big rule change from how people are using skirmishers at the moment. Rather than a tweak, that would be quite a big change.
Yeah, the skirmish rule at the minute is really, I don't know, messy. I think on this tabletop it looks really messy. I've seen some people post diagrams of how the skirmish rule works, and I look at it and I just think, it just looks, it just doesn't look nice on the tabletop. I don't think it plays particularly smoothly.
And then
especially
sorry, Tom.
I was going to say, especially with the prevalence of your like Ungors and all of your skirmishy wood elf units that are now on the tabletop, and Beastmen's, and yeah, I think it needs to be tightened up.
You think it looks less like a rank and flank game and less like Warhammer Fantasy, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The last one was something about line hammer. So potentially this could be a return of, you need to be base-to-base contact to swing.
I'd like to see that. But would you bring step up back to the game? Because I think that would fix infantry. So rank bonus and step up would like almost solve your infantry problem.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I think would help. I'm just sat here quietly thinking, but all my guys in my Wood Elf army are really high initiative and have no armor and a toughness 3. So we've been loving it, like at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, you've got that initiative bonus, you take out the front rank, nothing's going to strike you back. But you're right, that is the issue. Step up would be really helpful. Or they said, you know, in larger units, they will get a buff. So maybe it would be, do you remember if you took a horde, you would fight an extra rank automatically?
Yeah.
It might be that larger units do that, and then you might see larger units for those reasons. It'll go one way or the other. Like, it will be too much of a points investment for something that isn't a good enough fix, and no one will do it, or we'll see it quite a lot. They'll have to be quite careful how they do it. But hopefully, you know, because a lot of people like you, Tom, you know, a lot of people have been agreeing with you that this game doesn't look too much like Warhammer Fantasy. It looks like skirmishers, cavalry monsters.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't have that feel, does it? That old world feel. Not old world feel.
I think base to base would be a nice, easy fix for it personally, and that would stop you stringing out so many across the front.
Yeah, I think it would be a good fix, and it makes sense. Like a hero passing or like tag teaming his attack all the way up the line. For such like the unit champion to do a strength 7 hit. I don't know. It just looks weird. I think
Yeah.
Dr. Luke does a really good video on Linehammer. So if you've not checked it out, do it. It's worth
Oh, he's got
watching.
loads now online. That's
Yeah.
like his hashtag
Just him.
Linehammer. All right, and then the next thing was, this is going back a ways now. These rumours are coming so thick and fast. So back a ways, I think this might be back. This was on the Warhammer community site in an article, and I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the Wood Elf one, where they're talking about the Wood Elf lore. And they were talking about how things are progressing and that they had written an Arcane Journal for after Cathay, but didn't say what it was. It was like redacted from the article. But there are only two that the community has really put forward for possibilities. The first one is Kislev, because it was going to be Cathay and Kislev, wasn't it, once upon a time?
Yeah.
And now we've seen Cathay, so where's Kislev? We know all the artwork's been done. We know all the unit design that has been done because of Warhammer Total War. And then the other one is the Dogs of War.
Ooh, Dogs of War? That's not what I've heard, so that's really interesting. I'd love to see Dogs of War come back.
Yeah, so they'll do Tilia, and they'll do all the Dogs of War, and all the old kits will come back, and you can have your Dogs of War army that you used to have way back when.
Oh, don't say stuff like that. My bank account isn't ready for that.
They'd be really cool, wouldn't they? And and the cool thing about the Dogs of War is that they are mercenaries, so they can then flavor all the different armies, because you could take a Dogs of War unit if you wanted to.
all of the books have a nice little mercenary section in, so that would be nice. That would be really nice.
So that would be a great way of flavoring every release that's already come out. Everybody could enjoy a unit from that if they wanted to, and you'd have a new Arcane Journal and a new faction in the game.
That would be perfect. But I'm going to say this: I would love to see more new old world. You know, it's something like that. Those Cathay units. The thing that's got me most excited about them is the idea and the possibility of new old world is real and happening, and it's not something I ever expected to happen. So if like Kislev would be a dream, Kislev would be an absolute dream of mine to come out.
Well, it will come out sooner or later. Yeah. I'm quite surprised we're not hearing anything at all about potential Vampire Coasts.
So, I was talking to someone in the car on the way to the UK Games Expo about it, and I was like, you've got this amazing possibility from Warhammer Total War 3, where they've said in like the first articles they've worked hand in hand with the design team. How hard is it to take that from the game, put it through your computer bits, and create the models? It's like Vampire Coast would be a real one.
Because we're missing a vampire faction as well, because vampire counts aren't in the old world yet.
No, not yet.
But they are one of the ones now where they've kind of gone full circle in Age of Sigmar, where every unit, I think, it might be the Corpse Cart, might be the only one that hasn't been Age of Sigmarified. So they're getting to a point where you can have two model ranges now if they re-release the old model range. So you never know. But I, like you, Tom, would probably be more interested in New Old World and seeing what Vampire Coasts looks like.
Oh, brilliant, is what I can say. Absolutely brilliant.
So that
and the Norska tribes as well.
Oh yes, Norska.
Yeah, bring the giant mammoths and all of those horrible gribblies.
I swear there was a really, really early rumor about a potential mammoth. I'm pretty sure I heard a rumor about that a long time ago.
In the last rumor video we talked about Norska, did we not? As a potential rumor, or was it Nippon?
No, it was Norska. You're right. There was a rumor about that. So yeah, I think that pretty much takes us to the end. But these rumors feel, I have to say, sometimes we talk about rumors, and they don't feel very concrete. Whereas these rumours for the release date, the match play thing has just dropped by Games Workshop, even though the link doesn't work.
Blunder.
And the 1.5 thing is kind of in the air. They've said there's a new Arcane Journal, which is kind of guess what it is, but I think we're pretty close. These rumours are pretty, I would say, are some of the most concrete rumours that we've covered, because we've covered all kinds of weird and wonderful things, haven't we? Wish listing and the rest of it. There's some we've openly said, we think this is someone's wish list.
Yeah. Well, we've done like three years of that before the game was released. To summarize this, Dan, all I want to say is how excited I am. I've got my Empire Knights on the tabletop being painted. Can't see them very well. They come in, and then we've got Cathay come in. So we're going to have Kislev, maybe. It's all going on, and I want it all.
Yeah, I agree. And I'd love to see some balance to the game. I'd love to see infantry look good. I would love that. So please get it right, Games Workshop. Please, please, please. Let's see. Do you remember, this is way off tangent, do you remember when the dragon was the worst unit in my army in Warhammer 8th edition?
Oh, yeah, got killed by 25 skeletons.
Yeah, went in, did nothing, lost on combat resolution, fled, and was chased down by 25 skeletons. I would like to see a return of that, please. All right, and with that, this has been Odd Wednesday, and we will catch you next week.